There are going to be a couple of shows that you are not going to want to miss if you live in Australia and lands nearby, because let's just call it the Revenge Tour. And we're not talking about Taylor Swift going touring in Australia, which is happening right now.
Yeah,
correct?
it's finishing up there. You got the WWE is descended upon Perth for the Elimination Chamber.
And now you've got the No BS Tour, and that is the sequel to The Last Dance. This allows all the Chicago Bulls who were wronged in the Last Dance documentary by Michael Jordan to air their grievances to the Tasmanian and the Australian audiences that want to listen. Yes, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, and Luc Longley getting together, titling their tour No Bull, and that it's going to start tomorrow. Heck, it may already be today in Tasmania for where it is, but it starts February 23rd in Tasmania, going into Melbourne and Sydney, talking about all things Chicago Bulls. And for that trio, trying to clear up maybe some of the misconceptions you've taken from that 10-part Last Dance series.
It's pretty amazing. Like, it's one of those, if I had great advance notice this was existing, might be taking one of those end of winter break trips to go see this. Can I ask another question? I've got more. But like Luc Longley, part of this tour, right? Obviously, it's in his homeland and everything else. But it's the idea that Luc Longley really hadn't been seen until they did that Ring of Honor ceremony a couple of weeks ago, which Pippen and Jordan didn't show up to.
Sure.
So you have that.
Pippen will show up for this.
But he shows up for this.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he gets a microphone and you get the airing of the grievances. So sure.
It is amazing when you think of the levels. Now, Luc Longley was a part of the second wind of Bulls championships. Yeah. So he's in the 96, 97, 98. Horus Grant is a part of the first ones. And honestly, like my takeaway from The Last Dance and watching it like we did, almost 4 years ago, I didn't feel bad for Scottie Pippen at all. There's a lot of good that's happened with Scottie Pippen, and I thought that he brought a lot on himself. The guy I felt bad for was Horace Grant, in that Horus Grant made a decision and then ended up appearing to be easily replaceable once the team signed Dennis Rodman and just let Dennis Rodman do whatever he wanted to do in 96 through 98. So I am very curious to hear Horace Grant's take on all of this, because I think, listen, for as much as Scottie may want to complain or he didn't like how Michael did stuff, number one, I felt it was a propaganda piece for Michael Jordan, but Scottie Pippen's had a lot of good happen in his career. And some of the bad stuff that happened in his career was Scottie Pippen driven, Scottie Pippen related in stuff that he did or didn't do. So I don't have as much of a problem with Scottie being ticked off, because I think Scottie was a great player, and I think he was made better because he played with Jordan. But like Horace Grant is a member of that team, and then he goes and signs with Orlando, and then is basically the forgotten piece. Yet when you also had Michael Jordan leave the team, for a year to go play baseball, right, everybody, Horace is the bad guy because he goes and joins the enemy, and Michael Jordan is, ends up being the hero coming back. It just, I feel bad for Horace Grant and what he had to deal with.
Always, I thought one of the most unsung players of that era. Not just looking at the team, but in terms of his contributions and what he was in terms of a glue guy, rebounder, all of those things. And he's an afterthought in a lot of this. When you go back to The Last Dance, the Scottie Pippen thing, a lot of people focused on the dollars and cents in the contract. They offered you security. You took security. You still went on to all these, everybody else grossly overpaid you the rest of your career. So in the end, your career earnings were still through the roof.
Yes.
And then some. And you're always the guy, when we get into the arguments, particularly he benefits even more the further you get away from it, because especially in the era of, I want to promote LeBron as the guy, right? People younger than us in this business, here's this metric, here's that metric of LeBron being greater than Jordan. A lot of it is, well, he was nobody until Scottie Pippen shows up. So Scottie Pippen's actually getting a lot more run in this second life than he would have, say, 10 years ago. And yes, the Jordan thing was a pure propaganda piece. Are you kidding me? Like, from start to finish. Like, that's all it was. It was a well-choreographed, how do we put him in the best light as LeBron's doing all of these things on the court? Don't forget about me. That was the main thing to it all. But I'd like to be in the crowd. First question. hey, Larsa, what's going on over there? I was watching The Traders. Are they together or not? I mean, come on.
Traders, new episode drops tonight.
What a great show. I've always loved Alan Cumming. It's good to see him getting another run.
Me and my wife have been watching season 2, and we are caught up. It is very, very interesting watch, to say the least.
It's a bonding thing with me and my older daughter.
This is what I would love for this tour to also have. You talk about the WWE being in town. Oh my gosh, is that Isaiah Thomas's music? Just bring out everybody else who was wronged in that documentary so they can get their revenge. That's all this is. Like this benefits the Australian public or the Tasmanian public that goes out to see this, to say, I saw Scottie Pippen in person. I saw Horace Grant and Luc Longley putting on a great event. I don't know where the proceeds are going. I assume it's in Scottie Pippen's pockets. Yes,
Scottie's pocket. Scotty's got a lot of enterprises that he signed his name on to.
I assume that is the case, but this is just a straight out. I want to set the story straight and put my version out there. That this is not like a great night of storytelling with Sandy Koufax. Like, that is not what this is. This is Festivus, right? This is the airing of the grievances of The Last Dance, and unfortunately only Tasmania and Australia. I would love to see it. I am borderline if I would pay for it.
Oh, I would. Pay-per-view?
Yeah, you would make the trip, if you knew about
it.
Yes.
Hell yeah, I would have. But yeah, it's an interesting concept. We'll see if it comes stateside. One thing that people did realize out of this, though, there's an actual place called Tasmania. It's not just the guy from the Warner Brothers.
And it's not New Zealand, okay? That's a different part on a different coast. It's a different area. I heard at this auditorium they will be serving sour grapes. So something to look forward to if you're looking for a concession. I love it. As they titled it, the No BS Tour. I honestly don't know how many axes Luc Longley has to grind, right? Like, what is he mad about?
I think he might be able to give you at least a glimpse of what it was like being part of that circus when you're just seen as one of the guys. I remember running into him and Steve Kerr, Judd Bushel, and those guys at a couple of like theater events around Chicago, and people were like, "Wow, that guy's really tall." It's like, it's Luc Longley of the Bulls.
Sure,
it's like they're winning titles. This guy's kind of a big deal.
Are you more interested in hearing bad stuff about Michael Jordan or dirt about Dennis Rodman? Because that's, I think, the main thing. Like, Scottie, I think, is going to try to rain on the parade of Jordan and say things. And I would think that Luc Longley would be like, that was my Australian.
That was pretty good. You drifted right there.
Like when me and Dennis, we went out the other day, and all these girls were by him. How was that for Australian? What did you guys say?
By the way, credit to you.
That's good.
Yeah.
Credit to you for doing an Australian accent without doing the cliched line. Like, anybody who's ever done an Australian accent in the history of mankind has to put a shrimp on their Barbie, right? Isn't that what you have to do?
Either that or you yell,
way
crikey!
To go, Dan. Way to go.
Well, Cavino and Rich also, there was a time on TikTok where you would get everybody to say Rise Up Lights, which was razor blades in Australian accent, but it was Rise Up Lights. So if you say Rise Up Lights, which, can you do that?
Rise Up Lights?
Yeah, see, it sounds like he's Australian. It was everywhere. Oh, it's great. So I
hadn't seen that one.
Yeah.
I need to spend more time on TikTok, I guess.
That's how you can sound Australian. I think Luc Longley's going to have some good stories, talking, probably as well about what it was like for him in the NBA. But I just think, like, Scottie is just ready to go. He's got a list of
But you're not going to be
gripes.
able to understand him. His voice is too damn deep, and he speaks low. Maybe here he's shouting from the rooftop because I finally get to be heard.
Maybe they'll have subtitles up on the screen or something or another.